Raf Hamaisia was happy to share these pictures with us. Bloated with medication, in seclusion or alternative segregation as they like to call it now, in a mental health hospital.
The experiences of being detained on a mental health act are quite unique in the sense that restriction on freedom of movement, being forcibly medicated, being placed in a seclusion room which is akin to solitary confinement, being told when you can kind of sleep, go out, eat.
The Mental Health Act is long overdue modernising. Today, though, was the second reading of what the government calls landmark reforms, and within them enshrining the use of advanced choice documents, so people like Raf can say how they would like their care to look.
Often treatment and care is done under the guise of, risk and, Raf's not well at the moment, so we're going to make the decision for him. He doesn't have capacity. Whereas actually with advanced choice and different mechanisms, we can maybe, be a little bit more person-centred.
It is promised too that the bill will deal with racial disparities. Black people are 3.5 times more likely to be detained or sectioned and 7 times more likely to be put on a community treatment order.
Ready?
For the past year, Channel 4 News has highlighted the case of Nicholas Thornton, a man with autism and learning difficulties placed in a mental health ward for lack of any community care. When you're in a hospital, is there too much stimulation? And does that make you upset?
It's like torture that I can't get away from.
It is promised that the bill will end detentions for people like him. That this bill has been tabled so early on in Parliament has been broadly welcomed, but there are concerns inevitably over funding, where the money is going to come from. And specifically, there are real concerns that the government may have plans to scrap what's called the Mental Health Investment Standard, which is the one part of mental health funding that is actually ring-fenced. This standard ensures that commissioning boards have to increase their mental health budgets by at least the same percentage as their overall funding. It was widely welcomed when introduced.
The concern is that if this was taken away and integrated care boards can kind of make completely free decisions about where to allocate funding, that they may well prioritise, physical health, acute physical health hospitals and things like that instead of mental health.
A delegation to the new Children and Young People's Centre at the Maudsley in South London, a modern building for modern mental health. And there was Mental Health Minister Baroness Gillian Merrin.
The King, in addressing Parliament, talked about parity between mental and physical health services.
But what does parity mean?
It means that mental health services will be treated with as much seriousness and priority.
Financially.
Well, as a new government, you've already seen our move of direction.
So one of the other issues that many of the mental health charities I've spoken to have said that they are hearing that the Mental Health Investment Standard is going to be scrapped.
We've made no announcement on that. Our concentration is on our commitments that we've made to more staff, money for centres, support in schools, and also through talking therapies.
But is it being discussed?
We're looking at all the provisions in terms of mental health treatment, in terms of talking therapies, in terms of staffing, because what we need is a mental health service that will take us into the future. But we start in a very difficult position. I think we all know that.
Raf Hamaisia, who has now graduated, tells a story about a nurse thinking he was talking to himself when he was praying. If the bill can deal with racial disparities, he told me, that can only be welcomed. Yet few believe that without increased funding, the gains made in the new Act could be lost.